Look at this drop. Macro lens, Ultra HD. Surface tension holds it in a perfect sphere. The world inside it inverted and trembling. It looks still. It looks empty. There are approximately 1 million living organisms in that drop. Not in a liter, in the drop. A functioning ecosystem, predators, prey, producers, decomposers, locked in an evolutionary arms race inside a volume of liquid too small to see without a lens. You had no idea what you were holding. Everything you think of as the natural world is the visible layer, the part of life that happens at a scale your eyes can resolve. But the visible layer is not the majority of life on Earth. By number of individuals, by total biomass, by metabolic activity, the microscopic world dwarfs everything you can see. The organisms in a single drop of pond water outnumber all the mammals on Earth. The microbes in the top meter of the ocean produce more than half the oxygen in every breath you take. Not trees, not forests. Microbes in water, in drops too small to notice, continuously, for billions of years before you existed. We're going to zoom into one drop, in order of descending size, from organisms you could almost see with your naked eye, to ones that dissolve the boundary between living and not living entirely. Every organism on this list is present, right now, in a drop of pond water near you. And every single one is stranger than it has any right to be. Start at the largest scale visible under a basic microscope. This is still microscopic. This is just the beginning. The rotifer, 0.5 millimeter long, multicellular, mouth, stomach, jaw, nervous system and brain. It navigates, hunts, and reproduces inside a volume smaller than a full stop. Its corona, a rotating crown of cilia, generates a current that funnels bacteria directly into its mouth. Under a microscope, it is unmistakably animal, clearly eating, clearly moving with intention. Some species reproduce entirely without males for millions of generations. The males, where they exist, have no digestive system. They exist only to fertilize eggs and die. The females outlive them. The females are the drop. The copepod, a crustacean, a relative of crabs and lobsters, compressed into 1 millimeter. It jerks through water in discontinuous bursts, not from clumsiness, but evasion. The pattern makes it harder to track. Mechanoreceptor hairs along its antennae detect pressure waves before it can see what made them. Copepods are the most numerous multicellular animals on Earth. The ocean contains more copepods than stars visible from Earth. Every fish you have ever eaten ate something that ate a copepod. The Paramecium, single-celled, no brain, no nervous system. A cell the size of a grain of dust, covered in coordinated cilia that drive it at 10 body lengths per second, equivalent, scaled up, to 60 kilometers per hour. It hunts bacteria, herding them into an oral groove along its body. When it encounters something it dislikes, it reverses its cilia and backs away. It has no neurons, and yet it navigates. It decides. Naming the mechanism, sensory transduction through ion channels, does not fully explain how a single cell without a nervous system behaves as though it has one. The rotifer, the copepod, and the paramecium are still recognizable. They move, they eat, they are clearly alive. What comes next is where the category starts to bend. The tardigrade. The math says nothing this small should survive what this animal survives. 0.5 millimeter, 8 legs, a circular saw mouth that pierces plant cells and bacteria. It looks like a miniature bear in a spacesuit, charming right up until you learn what it can do. When its environment dries out, the tardigrade expels nearly all its water retracts its legs, and folds into a desiccated barrel called a ton. In this state, it is not dormant. By most measurable criteria, it is not alive. Metabolism drops to 0.01% of normal. Water content falls to 3%. All biological processes stop. It has been revived from museum specimens dried for over 100 years. In 2021, one was revived from 24,000-year-old Siberian permafrost. Not just alive, but reproducing. Here is the detail. NASA exposed tardigrades to the vacuum of space, cosmic radiation, and UV levels that destroy DNA. Some survived. They were rehydrated on Earth. They reproduced. A puddle animal outlasted unprotected exposure to outer space and came home and had children. A creature living in puddles has better space survival credentials than every human astronaut who has ever lived. We just did not think to look until recently. But the tardigrade is still an animal. What lives below it in the drop does not fit that category, the bacteriophage. Below bacteria, below the threshold of a light microscope, live bacteriophages, viruses that infect and kill bacteria. They are the most numerous biological entities on Earth, outnumbering all other life combined by 10 to 1. An estimated 10 to the power of 31 exists. Every drop contains millions. Standard definitions of life require metabolism, reproduction, response to the environment, and cellular structure. Bacteriophages have none of these independently. Outside a host, they are inert protein shells around a strand of genetic code. Not alive. And yet, a phage lands on a bacterium, injects its code, hijacks the cell's machinery, produces hundreds of copies of itself, and bursts the bacterium open. It uses the machinery of life to reproduce without being alive. It is the primary driver of bacterial evolution on Earth, continuously selecting for resistant strains, running an arms race inside every drop of water on the planet, at a scale no eye has ever directly observed. The what if? Bacteriophages may be the dominant evolutionary force on Earth. Not predation, not climate, viruses in drops of water, driving bacterial evolution, which drives the chemistry of every ocean, every soil, every living body on the planet. The most important evolutionary pressure on Earth is invisible. It lives in the drop. It is not even alive. You have walked past drops of water your entire life. On leaves, pavements, puddles your shoes passed through. Each one contained a functioning ecosystem. Each one was running the biological processes that produce the oxygen in your lungs and the fertility of the soil in which your food grows. The visible world is not the world. It is the surface of the world. The majority of life, by number, by mass, by evolutionary consequence, happens at a scale your eyes cannot reach. In volumes, your fingers close around without noticing. You are not at the center of the living world. You are a large, slow, temporarily organized collection of systems that depend entirely on processes happening in drops of water you have never looked at. The drop is not small. You are just large enough to miss it. But if a single drop already contains predators, prey, producers, decomposers, and entities that are not quite alive, but are driving the evolution of everything that is. What is living in the drops we have not looked at yet? Fewer than 1% of bacterial species in any environment have been studied in any detail. Every new sampling technique in the last 2 decades has returned organisms that did not exist in the scientific record before the sample was taken. The microscopic world is not a solved problem. It is the largest unsolved problem in biology. It has been waiting in plain sight in every drop of water on Earth. for the entire history of science.